All right, we are now live on Facebook. Good afternoon, parents and families. My name is Ashley Jones, and I serve as the coordinator of parent and family programs in the Center for Student Success. And we are here for our March edition of our Seymour Scoop. Today, we have with us Dr. Rebecca Malley, who is the Title IX coordinator, and she will speak with us all things Title IX and the resources that are available to the campus community and how you can share this information with your student. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Malley.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So we've got some really good information to share with you today. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some of our questions. Feel free to jot any information down that you're wanting to know more about. At the end, we'll provide some contact information. And as always, if you're unable to be with us throughout the duration of the event, this program will be shared on our Facebook page. So feel free to double back and view the entirety of the video at a later date. So at this time, Dr. Malley, if you will, tell us what is Title IX and to whom does Title IX apply?
Good question. So Title IX is that federal legislation from 1972 that says any educational institution that receives any form of federal funds has to have a person or office identified where a member of that community can visit and get information if they feel that they've been treated differently because of their sex, their gender identity, their sexual orientation, or their pregnancy status. And so since we do at USM get quite a bit of federal funding, particularly through grants and financial aid, et cetera, we have a full-time Title IX coordinator, myself, a full-time deputy coordinator, and an office located in the Cook Library of the Hattiesburg campus. Now, for those of you who have family members who are on the Gulf Park campus and the GCRL in Ocean Springs, please know that we are available to them as well. And we can access them through Zoom meetings or in person as requested at any time. Title IX protections cover both students and employees of the University of Southern Mississippi and persons at all campuses.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. I feel as though many people are aware of the term Title IX, but are maybe not so familiar with the specifications. And so that's really helpful to have that information and to know to whom it applies to all parties. So an additional question is, does Title IX only apply to on-campus or to off-campus students as well?
Well, there are a couple of levels to that question. Let me back up a little bit and say that in addition to being in an office where one can consult if you feel like you're treated differently because of those characteristics I mentioned earlier, we also speak to issues of and help address issues of sexual harassment. And sexual harassment as it's currently defined by the federal government includes dating violence, domestic violence, stalking, sexual harassment of the touching or verbal nature, and sexual assault. So if any of those behaviors occur on campus between two members of the campus community, both employees and students can visit with our office to determine if they want to file a complaint formally or informally, and or receive supportive measures that can assist them through a difficult time. We can help coordinate that with the Dean of Students or with Residence Life or with the Student Counseling Center, et cetera. If anyone is a victim of any of those behaviors off campus, whether or not that person who perpetrated the sexual misconduct is a member of the campus community does not matter, because we can still offer supportive services, but we are unable to do investigations that may lead to disciplinary action. I do believe that particular piece of Title IX will change under the Biden administration, but we're still waiting to see what the final outcome of their review of what Title IX now looks like will be.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for clarifying that for us.
Yes.
We spoke a little bit about this already. And so I think we got some understanding, but wanting to make sure that we have everything covered. What types of behaviors are protected under Title IX?
So again, there are two prongs. One are those behaviors that I've mentioned already, that if you are the recipient of those kind of behaviors and are a member of the campus community, you can and should, and we urge you to consult with the Title IX office. So your sex, your gender identity, your sexual orientation, your pregnancy status. If you feel like you're being treated differently and negatively by any member of the campus community because of those attributes, by all means come and see us. On the other hand, if you also are the victim of or survivor of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, sexual harassment, or sexual assault, by all means, also come and talk with us. And again, that's the case for all employees and all students on all campuses.
That is good to know. So how do students, I know that you mentioned about being able to come to your office if they are a fall victim to any of those areas, how should a student file a complaint or anyone file a complaint?
Good question. So there are a variety of ways, and particularly in this pandemic world in which we live. One of the ways that a student or employee could reach us is by contacting us by email and asking for a Zoom meeting if they don't feel comfortable coming in person, which we certainly understand. We do hold meetings in person where we socially distance with masks, and we also make certain that after persons have come in to visit, we sanitize the area for the next visitor. So we feel like it's a medically safe environment. They can also contact us by telephone, or they can fill out a form that's at the Title IX website, which is on campus, which is online. And when you go to the campus website, the university website, way down at the bottom, you will find a link to the Title IX office. And a student or employee can go on, click on there and file an incident report, and it comes directly to my email.
Wonderful. Now that we're talking about complaints, and we know now how a student or an employee can file a complaint, once that is done, does information about a complaint remain private to all persons of the party?
So the report and the allegation and any information shared here stays private to the degree that is required by law. Okay. Obviously, if there is a complaint, the two parties of the complaint, the complainant and the respondent, will know about it. Their witnesses, their advisor to the process, if they go through the formal complaint process, et cetera. Or on the other hand, if they choose to get some kind of resolution through mediation, because that's an option as well. But do we tell their instructors? No. Do we tell their residence hall director? No. Do we tell their parents? Not without their written permission. And we keep that information confidential.
Okay, great. So that's perfect. It goes right into the next question. And it was, will Title IX, a representative from Title IX, inform a student's parent or family member that they have filed a complaint or that a complaint has been filed against them?
If we get that written permission from the student, absolutely. The student has a FERPA right to that degree of privacy about that incident or what they're reporting to our office. But in many cases, a student does want their parent to be involved in the process, okay, and we're glad to have that involvement as long as we have that permission.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what resources does your office and the university provide for victims?
Well, one of the things that we do when a student comes in or an employee to visit with us is find out what type of supportive measures they need from us as a university and us as an office right at that moment and then longer term. So for example, one of the first questions I may ask is, are you feeling safe on campus? And if the answer is no, I will encourage them to let me involve the university police department, who can talk with them about what they can provide in terms of helping them feel safer and how they can go about doing that. Sometimes what I find out, and this is not out of the ordinary, that the largest concern is for declining academic behavior. In other words, they're distraught by what's occurred. They can't sleep, so they oversleep. They're depressed. They can't focus, and their academic work slides. So one of the things we do immediately in the Title IX office is contact Assistant Dean McNair, and she gets in touch with instructors to simply say, this student is dealing with an extraordinary circumstance that requires some extra consideration for classwork, deadlines, or exams, and we will appreciate any consideration you can give them. And that goes out to instructors. It's up to the instructor to determine if they will in fact offer those considerations. I will tell you that 99% of the time they do. Sometimes what a student says they need is to be moved out of a residence hall. So we'll work very closely with Residence Life to find them a new residence hall location where they just feel more comfortable. We also provide them information about how to get connected with the Student Counseling Services Office. And additionally, an organization that is affiliated with the university called the Schaefer Center for Crisis Intervention. They have a 24/7 call number, as does our Student Counseling Services number, and also provide counseling free of charge, as does the Student Services Center. So the Schaefer Center and the Students Counseling Services both provide free counseling to students. When necessary, we also make certain that they know and should go to the Moffitt Health Center. And when necessary, we get them in touch with the Domestic Violence Family Shelter. So for those incidents where they feel like they need to be out of their current living situation, let's say it's off campus and they're sharing an apartment with someone who's being abusive, that group will work with them on some type of temporary housing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that families always and often want to learn how they can share information with students. We know that students are so sometimes engulfed in schoolwork and coursework and academics that they forget about the very many resources that are available to them on campus. And so we're grateful to have families with us here to get this information and this knowledge should their student find themselves in need of it. And in the realm of thinking about families and how they can support their students, what role do parents and families play in assisting their student with seeking Title IX services?
Well, it's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked it, because I perceive parents as an ally both to the office and what the office is trying to do, and to the student or the employee and what they're trying to get resolved. I want to emphasize that we offer services, support services like those I just mentioned, to both a complainant and to a respondent. For both the persons involved in a complaint, particularly if it's formal, it's very traumatic. So the way a student can be, a parent can be helpful is to be aware that there is a Title IX office and say, you really ought to give them a call, stop by and talk with them, and just find out what your options are at minimum. To put that suggestion in their mind often will give them the nudge they need to go ahead and take that first step. The other thing that I find that a parent can do is be an ally to a student when they are in some type of situation, either where they're alleging sexual misconduct or alleged sexual misconduct has been made against them. Either way, it's upsetting. It can be very traumatic. And often students, not often, but 90% of the time, students are going to want and need unwavering support from one's family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's something that I have seen continuously while working with students and with families, is that families want to help and they want to assist, and students want just as much for their families to help in their assistance. They're growing, they're, coming of age, but at the core, they still want and need that familial support. So
that's true. And sometimes what a student may need in one of these situations is just to be on the telephone or be on Zoom with a family member, particularly a parent, and just to vent for a while.
Right.
And I would ask the parents to bear in mind that usually that venting helps your student feel better. You may feel rotten after you get off Zoom or you get off the telephone, but please know that they feel safe enough to talk to you that way is a good sign, and it's a healthy sign.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could not agree with that statement more. Hearing from your student, hearing them vent, hearing the information may not always feel good, but it is certainly good that they are in the mood and the way to communicate with you.
Absolutely. And they trust you enough to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Dr. Malley, I know that you mentioned students being able to stop in to make an appointment with you guys. Where are you located and how can students reach you?
Several ways students can reach us. That we are located in Cook Library on the Hattiesburg campus. We're located in Hardy Hall on the Gulf Park campus 1 day a week. Under normal circumstances, right now we're holding office hours via Zoom. So a student can get in touch with us by going to the university website and clicking on down at the bottom of the page where it says Title IX. And when that page pulls up, they will find a link to my email address. They'll find the office telephone number, and they can also fill out a form. And those are in addition to just stopping by 129 Cook Library, which is in the southeastmost corner of the first floor. If we can get the students to keep walking past Starbucks, they'll find us.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I am in that number two to walk past.
There's something about having Starbucks right at the door of the library that at least gets them in, but we'd like for them to keep on walking past Starbucks and see us as well.
Right, come on to the back. Fun fact, our offices are next door. So
right.
The Title IX office and the Center for Student Success, we are literally in both in Cook Library. We're 128, they're 129. So we're right next to one another. So your student can certainly get resources from both of our offices by coming to the Cook Library. It's more helpful than just for Starbucks.
Absolutely.
That is for sure. Dr. Malley, do you have any closing thoughts or remarks? Is your office hosting any programs or initiatives that you'd like to share with families?
I do want to let families know that we reach out to all kinds of student organizations on a regular basis to provide them the kind of information that I've provided for you today. We try to bring in speakers who have particular expertise in certain areas as we can make that available, particularly in this pandemic world. And I'll give you an example of the kind of the programming that we offer. About 2 weeks ago, we had an assistant attorney general from the attorney general's office here in Mississippi who talked about the use of technology in stalking. That was very, very informative. I would say that of the 60 plus people who were involved in it, what they heard was new information, and it's good information. One thing that I would say that would be helpful to me as a resource, is if I go back to the question of how families can be helpful, is if a student feels that they are being sexually harassed by an employee of the university, or if a student has a breakup with a partner and that partner just doesn't seem to let go, and the student says, oh, it's no big deal. I mean, it's a little bothersome, but I really don't want to do anything about it. Really urge them to at least come talk to Title IX to find out how we can help them, because the sad reality is in most of those situations, it's not going to stop without some intervention.
Mm-hmm. That is true. It's a sad reality, but very true, and one that should be faced head on.
Correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Malley, for sharing that information with us. Families, we do hope that you gain valuable knowledge of Title IX office and the resources that are available to your student on campus. Again, if you maybe came in a little late, this video will be saved and shared on the Parent and Family Facebook page for later viewing. So please be sure to take advantage of the replay and share it. Make sure to share it with your students. I encourage you to tag your students in the comment section so that they can also view this information as well. Dr. Malley's information will be shared on this page. I'll make sure that in the comment section as well as on the post area. So I'll make sure that I include her contact information as well as for the office so that you can feel free to get in contact with her. As always, I want you guys to know that I am always here for you as the coordinator of parent and family programs. Certainly, if you are not receiving our monthly newsletters, please be sure to go to our website and sign up for the Parent and Family Association. It is a free association, and every member of that association receives a monthly newsletter. It goes out between the 1st and the 5th of each month. So that newsletter has been sent for March, but there will be an April and a May newsletter. And that information is very helpful to you as well as for your student to provide information about things that are happening on campus as well as in the Hattiesburg community, as well as events and programs such as this that are being hosted for family members. I will say that we have a really fun event that's coming up at the end of this month. That information will be shared very soon. It's a great opportunity for you to engage in some virtual programming for us, but familiar programming with you and your student. So be on the lookout for that as well. And we're really excited to jump up some things for the summer as well as for the fall. So please be sure to stay tuned. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself as well as our email. Our email is parentsandfamily@usm.edu. and that's parents with an S, and family@usm.edu. You can reach me for anything regarding campus, school, textbook, finances, literally anything that you have a question about. I'm your advocate and I'm here for you to help in any way that I can. You can also reach me by phone at 601-266-6405. Again, thank you so much for joining us for our March edition of our Seymour Scoop with Title IX. We will be back for April and look forward for the April newsletter in a few weeks. Thank you again, Dr. Malley, for being with us today.
Thank you.
And as always, we will end with what we love to say on campus, and that is Southern Miss to the top.
To the top.
Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.